Welcome to our little chats together midweek devotions. This week I've got a very special devotion because it's not one that I planned. It was one that was specifically requested. And that is, how do you forgive? Oh, I mean, I know that we all know we're supposed to forgive. But how do you put that into practice? So we're going to look. Now, the person that made this request specifically mentioned that they didn't want me to go through scripture and tell them that they are supposed to forgive. I mean, Jesus said, forgive 70 times 70. What they wanted was some practical advice on how to forgive people that are not that forgivable. Here's what I think I'll do. I'll just share with you some ideas that are helpful for me. And then if you want to, realize there are several people that may be watching this, and that as we watch it, we all can help each other out a bit. So come down below in the comment section and add some ideas that help you. Or if some of the ideas that help me don't help you, put down that that's not helpful to you, but this is helpful. The idea being that we together as a group can perhaps help each other learn how to forgive and treat other people a little nicer than we do, okay? One idea that has been helpful for me is to get over the idea that somehow or the other living with your feelings on your sleeve is honest. That is, I've heard people say, well, you know, at least they're honest. If they're mad, you know they're mad. And other people, they don't seem honest. They can be really ticked or really upset, and they just don't show it. Well, the word you're looking for is differentiated. It means this, the ability to act above your emotions. For instance, if I am undifferentiated, what you see is what you get. That's rather immature. If I'm differentiated, I may be having a bad day, but I don't take it out on everybody around me. I may be worried about something, but I don't go around and hurt other people. I don't go to work someday and treat all the customers like dirt, and another day treat all the customers like la 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 because I'm feeling up or down a particular day. I decide to act in accordance with reality, not feelings. And the reality is that even though we may be ticked off, or we may not like a certain person, that doesn't mean that they're not likable. Or it doesn't mean we shouldn't treat them with the respect we treat anybody else. Another thing that has helped me is the idea that forgiveness, like love, is a verb. Oh, I know there is a feeling that we call love, romance, fondness, kindness. But any married couple that's been married more than a week or two knows that everything isn't always cozy, and you may love someone, but you may not always feel romantic around them at any given time. Rather, love is a decision of your will that you have made to treat them in a special way, to care for them in a special way, to stick through thick and thin with them because you've made this decision to love them. Well, forgiveness is much the same. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you don't feel pain sometimes, and forgiveness doesn't mean that at times you feel uncomfortable in someone's presence. Forgiveness means that even though you have the perhaps right to charge something against someone, or to dislike someone, or to be afraid of someone, that you will not treat them in an biased way because of that action, because of that feeling. Okay, I've got to say that this forest is fun. Playing through all these big old fallen trees and kind of sneaking through. And while I'm at it, I think it was Gandhi. I could get this wrong, but I think it was Gandhi that said, "There are things for which I would die, but nothing for which I would kill." And I think that in a situation like this, sometimes I've thought to myself, I would rather be hurt than to be the person that hurt others. And so, even if someone has hurt me pretty badly, I refuse to intentionally inflict pain and hurt and harm on others. We may not realize it, but there is a lot at stake sometimes with our broken fellowship, friendship relationships with other people. Some of the things we get so worked up about, God can handle. I don't mean they'll always magically turn out, all rainbows and everything great and shiny. Sometimes we go through high points and sometimes we go through low, but God can handle all of that. But the real battle for your soul right now might not be that other person. It might be your attitude toward that other person. So far, just about everything I've been talking about emphasizes using your intellect and your mind over your emotions and your feelings. But sometimes you're walking down this, pushing a shopping cart down the supermarket, and you turn the aisle, and they're at the other side of the aisle, and you just almost bump into carts, and you are caught off guard by this person that you have, it's hard to get along with, that you feel uncomfortable with. You've had that happen. I think everybody has. And sometimes they are not as eager to let bygones be bygones, or they're not as eager to treat you kindly as you are to treat them kindly. And something happens and you get kind of miffed and you fall short of what you've promised yourself you would be. This isn't unique to you, and it's not unique to me or to anyone else. And what I'm going to say is, forgive yourself. Because we all get caught off guard. And we're all probably most likely to be less than what we feel like we should be when we're caught off guard. So just don't hold on to it. If you have to ask forgiveness, ask forgiveness. If you need to just ask God forgiveness, ask God forgiveness. If you need to forgive yourself, just forgive yourself. But don't hold on to something that was beyond your control or ability to come up to. I would say, try to keep yourself from being caught off guard. Now, see if I can say this right. I don't think that you ought to avoid all of the places that you might be uncomfortable because a person you're uncomfortable with is at that place. That's not really healing. It's not really that helpful for you. It keeps you apart from that person, and it keeps you away from having those uncomfortable situations where you have to engage or speak to that person, and it keeps all that, but it doesn't help you heal, and it doesn't help you get over the problem you have. On the other hand, you don't want to go in, huggy, squeezy, feely, how are you doing, old buddy, best friend for life, because you don't feel that way. So is there something else you can do between total avoidance of that person forever and trying to act like you have a relationship you don't? And I'm going to say, yes, there is. Once again, it takes an intentional act of the will. It takes a little bit of preparation, but it's not as hard as you might think after you've done it a time or two. And it's very simply this. You don't hate half the world, and you're not all cuddly, huggy, squeezy, feely with the other half of the world. Most of the people out there are people that people you don't really spend a whole lot of time with, but people that you don't have anything against. And the conversations you have are not the angry conversations that keep bringing up the past, and they're not the all friendly, warm conversations of someone you might have just liked to go out and spend a holiday with. They're more casual, but they're comfortable. So pick someone in your mind that you have that kind of relationship with. Pick someone in your mind that you have nothing against, that you have good feelings toward, but that you don't particularly spend a lot of time with that person. Now, once you have that person in your mind, this may sound funny, you may not agree with me, but once you have that person in your mind, before going into any public place where you might run into a person that you have trouble with, imagine that you might run into that person, and imagine how you would converse with that person if it was this other person. Just kind of stick them into that spot. And then if you take the shopping cart and you turn the aisle and you almost bump into that person, you can be polite, respectful, kind, without being disingenuous and all warm and fuzzy, or without showing hatred and dislike for that person. You can treat them in a respectful way. And this little walk in the woods has been a lot of fun. These woods are just gorgeous. Got a few points to go, so I think what I'm going to do is just pause and stop right now where I'm at, and then finish this up next week. Well, it is, as I say every week about this time, it is middle of the week. We will be back together to worship each other, or worship Christ again in just a few days, and worship with each other. In the meantime, may God bless you and watch over you and help you not become as lost in the woods of life as I am in the woods of Weinberg King State Park. And